Plymouth GTX is a classic muscle car that remains a symbol of American automotive performance from the 1960s and 1970s. Introduced in 1967, the GTX was Plymouth's answer to the growing demand for high-performance vehicles that could compete with the likes of the Pontiac GTO and the Chevrolet Chevelle SS. With its bold styling, powerful engines, and impressive performance, the Plymouth GTX quickly gained a reputation as one of the premier muscle cars of its era. The GTX was originally conceived as a high-performance version of the Plymouth Belvedere, a mid-sized sedan. It was intended to serve as a flagship model for Plymouth, a division of Chrysler, and to attract buyers looking for more power and prestige than the standard models in the Plymouth lineup. The GTX was marketed as the gentleman's muscle car, combining luxury with performance, making it an appealing choice for those who wanted both speed and sophistication. The exterior design of the Plymouth GTX was typical of muscle cars of the time, featuring aggressive styling that included long, wide stance and bold lines. The GTX featured a functional hood scoop, which helped to cool the engine and added to its performance-oriented image. The front end was dominated by a bold grille and twin headlights, while the rear end featured a full-width taillight that was both functional and stylish. The overall look of the GTX was muscular and imposing, yet elegant enough to appeal to more refined tastes. Under the hood, the Plymouth GTX was powered by a variety of engine options, with the most notable being the 440 cubic inch V8 engine, which was capable of producing up to 375 horsepower. This engine gave the GTX a significant performance advantage over many of its competitors, enabling it to go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 6 seconds, a remarkable feat for its time. For those seeking even more power, the GTX was also available with the legendary 426 Hemi V8 engine, which produced an astonishing 425 horsepower. This engine was an option that elevated the GTX to an entirely new level of performance, and it quickly became a favorite among racing enthusiasts and muscle car fans. The performance of the Plymouth GTX was further enhanced by its suspension and handling characteristics. The car featured a heavy-duty suspension system designed to handle the additional power of its V8 engines, as well as providing a smoother and more stable ride compared to some of its competitors. The handling of the GTX was a significant step up from the Belvedere, with precise steering and the ability to handle tight corners with ease. The car was also equipped with large, high-performance brakes that could handle the increased speed and power of the GTX, ensuring that it could stop as quickly as it could accelerate. Inside, the Plymouth GTX was designed to provide a comfortable and stylish driving experience. The interior featured bucket seats, a center console, and a tachometer, which provided the driver with all the information they needed to keep track of the car's performance. The GTX also offered a range of luxury features, including wood trim, carpeting, and upgraded upholstery, giving the car a more refined feel than other muscle cars of the time. The combination of performance and comfort made the GTX a car that was equally suited to high-speed drives on the open road as it was to everyday use. As the 1960s came to a close, the muscle car era began to hit its peak, and the Plymouth GTX found itself in the midst of the action. In 1968, the car received some updates, including new sheet metal and revised styling, making it even more distinctive. This was also the year when Plymouth introduced the Rally package, which added even more performance enhancements to the GTX. The 1968 model year marked the height of the car's popularity, and it became a favorite among performance car enthusiasts. Despite its success, the Plymouth GTX's production numbers began to decline as the muscle car era started to wind down in the early 1970s. The rising fuel costs, stricter emissions regulations, and insurance premiums began to take their toll on the market for high-performance cars. The 1971 2019 model year marked the beginning of the end for the GTX, as Plymouth introduced a new, more restrained design that was less aggressive and more in line with the changing market trends. Sales continued to decline throughout the early 1970s, and by 1971, Plymouth had decided to discontinue the GTX altogether. In the years following its discontinuation, the Plymouth GTX became a classic collector's car. Its combination of performance, luxury, and distinctive styling made it a highly sought-after vehicle among automotive enthusiasts. The car's reputation for speed, power, and aggressive design ensured that it remained a favorite among those who appreciated the muscle car era. Today, the Plymouth GTX is remembered as one of the quintessential muscle cars of the 1960s and 1970s. Its iconic,